it's Drake Maye. And I've said it before, but when I talk to a coach on that Patriots 24 staff who was around Drake Maye day in and day out, and he's gushing about this guy. He said he was the smartest person in the building, period. Anybody, players, coaches, janitors, analytics. Well, they didn't really have an analytics department because, the franchise was like stuck in the Stone Age because of Bill Belichick. I want to touch on that as well. But when a former coach who's been fired is that effusive with his praise, and he told me, like, he goes, it might not happen this year because Josh McDaniel's offense is a lot harder than our offense was. They put a ton on the quarterback's plate. He's got to set the protections. Like, you're going to have all the answers, but it's a lot to handle. I mean, think about Tom Brady ran this offense for a number of years. And he said, I don't know about the weapons. It looks like they're just throwing to Hunter Henry, kind of like what we did. He predicted in 2026 he'd be a top 5 quarterback, though. Um, Clearly, he's a top 5 quarterback right now. But I thought it was telling to have conversations with coaches on the Patriots staff that was fired versus conversations with coaches on the Bears staff that were fired, who have nothing nice to say about Caleb Williams, what he was like to deal with day in and day out, the work that he wasn't putting in. It's all there. We don't got to rehash it all. But it was one extreme versus the other. So I'm starting to think, man, they've got a chance to really start to build a new dynasty of their own with Vrabel, with May, with Elliott Wolf as GM. And because Vrabel knows what he wants culturally, this thing isn't just built to win this year. I think the Patriots, they're going to be contending for Super Bowls for as long as Drake Maye's the quarterback. Put him right in the bucket with everybody else. Put him there with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. I've seen enough, Jim. I'm in. Like, Drake Maye is the answer. Drake Maye might be the MVP this season. I don't have a vote. If I did right now, I'd vote for Drake Maye.
So, like Tony Soprano always likes to say, take it easy. Take it easy. I'm with you, though. I'm with
Who
you.
does that make me? I get all Sopranos references now
Well, I
that
know.
I've finally
I
seen the
remember
show.
you. I remember you
Does
invested.
that make me Chris Balasanti?
That's not a bad thing. I like his character. But no, I'm with you though. I'm with you. Like here's the good is outstanding right now. The deep ball passing is like advanced. And we saw that a little bit. I was able to study him at North Carolina and saw that as well. I thought at times he was a little bit overthrew guys. The arm is so live and it's almost so pretty the way he can Russell Wilson like with the air he can drop on those types of downfield passes. The accuracy at North Carolina was a little bit concerning down the field for me, other than the touch passes. I thought he would spray the ball a little bit, and I thought his decision making. I thought he got away with a lot of things. Dropped interceptions was something I thought I charted as something I would pay attention to. I'm not seeing that as much. I'm seeing all the good. The playmaking with his legs, the size, the arm strength, the third down completions, moving the chains, winning your biggest game against a Super Bowl team like Buffalo. And then what I told you right away was the next week when he went to New Orleans and won, I thought that was a better win than beating Buffalo in Buffalo because that is adding and putting wins together, which is hard to do as a young quarterback. It's easy to beat the Bills, go down and play a lesser team in New Orleans and have a week off, take a week off thinking, all right, man, teammates will help me tonight. We'll run the ball. We'll get this win. No, you got to play great as a quarterback every week in the NFL. And he just showed he's capable of that and handling that type of pressure. Now, for the Patriots in general, May is just going to get better and better. I still thought, even last week, I thought he got away with like a fumble. He always has some kind of crazy plays still that he's getting away with. Every rookie does. The talent's off the charts. The combo of he and Vrabel, I'm with you. Elliott Wolf, ownership, they have the core four. The defense has to improve. It will. They'll get better. Right now, their secondary, they're giving up a lot of yards per attempt down. The secondary is a little concerned now. They got their best corner back now, and that might get better because he is a true big time corner in Gonzalez. So anyway, the Patriots improve on defense.
Yes.
They're gonna be a headache. They're gonna be right there with the Bills every game. The Bills the Bills can't believe it. The Patriots are their next door neighbor again.
I think too. There's a couple conversations worth having here because you've lived um, through regime changes. You've seen what goes into a good, productive regime, a vision, all of that, and you've seen when things can go haywire. And I just think it's worth noting like how bad it really was at the end of Belichick and into Gerard Mayo, which, you know, the assumption was that this was just a passing of a torch, right? Like Bill Belichick to one of his trusted old linebackers turned linebacker coaches. Like, no, didn't even talk to each other that last year, a couple years from what I was told. Belichick did not know about this clause put into Mayo's contract when it was put in by Robert Kraft that he would take over as head coach whenever Belichick left. So that was a surprise. But start with Belichick, and it's all in that story, Patriot Reign, if you want to check it out. But let me see if I can find it here. There, like this is just one example, but toward the end, there was somebody pretty high up in the organization who said, like, quote, the person in charge says something in a room and everybody just takes it as gospel fact, and it isn't fact. Like Belichick, he didn't have anybody that would really push back. He didn't have the Charlie Weisses, Romeo Crennels, Scott Pioli's of the world of yesteryear who would call him out on his shit if he liked somebody in the draft and he's like, no, they just say, no, this guy can't play, we're not going to take him, or a free agent decision. So it's a small example, but what one exec told me is like he'd make a proclamation and you're just supposed to take it like there's no pushback here, right? Where earlier in his career he would accept pushback, like he would listen to ideas, but Nick Folk, so he's made 86.5% of it. He made 86.5% of his kicks in 2022, but Belichick couldn't get past the kickoffs, and he couldn't get past the fact that the Bills had two kickoffs returned for touchdowns. Remember the Naeem Hines game after Damar Hamlin dies and comes back to life on a football field, and it was like, you know, we got to get rid of this guy. He didn't not take into consideration that players couldn't get off blocks and maybe make a tackle. So they draft a kicker in Chad Ryland in the fourth round. He lasts one season. And when I wrote the story at that time, Folk had drilled 57 of 59 field goals since the Patriots moved on. So it was that kind of stuff throughout. But then it's also the fact that like they're just stuck in the Stone Age. Like Belichick ran everything and they were winning all the time. So when they get a new coach in Gerard Mayo and they're bringing in whatever it was, 17 coaches, like the moving expenses were embarrassingly low. They wouldn't even cover an entire family. So like I think Gerard Mayo was open to hearing this because he didn't know. Like, all he's known is the Patriots. So Alex Van Pelt, the OC, he's like bringing this stuff to his attention. Like the sauna at the facility is deteriorating. Like it's just breaking off. It's like they're bringing this stuff to him. The offensive line coach wanted like $15,000 worth of equipment that he had seen work. He'd been with Bill Callahan. So, I mean, that's not a lot of money in the NFL. But like all of this stuff, it was just a hassle to deal. It'd get dealt with. Like they got that equipment. They got better moving expenses. I think they fixed the sauna, whatever was around. But it was like Gerard Mayo would spend half the day like figuring this shit out, getting it, talking to people on the business side or talking to people on the operations side. And that's time he wasn't putting into football. That's the head coach. So that's a problem. And it showed. And his staff wasn't that great. Like you would think if you're the heir apparent to Bill Belichick, like you'd have this A plus all-star cast of coaches like ready to roll. They kind of piecemealed it together, compared to like a Ben Johnson in Chicago. He knew who he wanted, and they're a well-coached team. So it was bad. And there's also the fact, forgot about this, back to Belichick. So there was a story I was told where Bridgewater State had its graduation at Gillette Stadium, which was kind of common for local high schools and colleges. And there was a Patriot staffer who was instructed to find Jordan Hudson. She was a graduate in the audience and bring her to Belichick's office, I was told. And there's obviously some sort of relationship there, but the staffer, like, he didn't know. And like people see him like he is just flustered. 7 months later is when the public learns about, Bill Belichick dating somebody who's 5 decades younger, a senior citizen with a 24-year-old. But again, the point being, like, nobody's really around to push back and be like, well, what are you doing here? This is a little odd. Uh, so that lingers on. Mayo doesn't really have a plan. They're stuck in the Stone Age. to Kraft's credit, to the Patriots' credit, they move off of all of that and they bring in a coach in Mike Vrabel who has a vision, who literally comes in and says, "Look, if I see dirty washcloths on the shower floor, I'm telling my equipment staff just to wring them dry. We're not going to wash them. And guess what? You're cleaning yourself with a dirty washcloth. If you got a phone, you're not going to be texting in between lifts. Like, if you're going to be late to a meeting, tell us you're going to be late to a meeting. Don't make it a habit." Like, he had a vision, he had a plan, and he's got the quarterback to win.
And let's talk with Elliot Wolf, who's, he was around football his whole life. I respect that. I love that because I have too, with my father being a head football coach in college. But Elliot was built for this, so he knows what the coaches. He's been around coaches that have success. So I like that he and Vrabel, he knows what it should look like, sound like, all that good stuff you hear. It's right. It's true. The head coaches,
Yeah.
they should have. Like, I felt confident when I was fortunate enough to be a part of hiring Sean McDermott. With the Pujols had the final say, but Whaley and I were the two lead. And it was, I was around Andy Reid. I was around Sean Payton. I knew, and Sean had the same qualities. That's what he comes from, that type of structure and tree. So that's what head coaches do. They bring almost the
Yes.
outline of the class.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I get it. Everybody wants the next
Mm-mm.
big thing, a college coach, something you haven't seen, but it pays when you've done it. You know what you're looking for. You've got a vision. Like Drake Maye, I mean, going into the reporting of that, I thought the story would be like how bad he was in front of the room. Like, remember, he called his team soft when they got beat up by Jacksonville. He said, and that didn't sit well with guys. But also, like, no, that wasn't the issue. Like, he actually was pretty good in front of the room. He could communicate with players, but he just didn't have a plan. You don't know what you don't know. And when you're constantly putting out fires and trying to modernize this organization, it's taking you away from the important stuff, right? Like, I don't know, think about us. Think about anybody listening or watching in your own jobs, your own careers. I nothing would drive me nuts more than when and look, I loved my time at Bleacher Report. They did so much for me, parachuting into all these different markets, growing the Rolodex, writing big stories, paid us well. But it drove me nuts how we would just have meetings on top of meetings and top of meetings, and like different layers of bosses doing all these different, they're very bureaucratic. And it just felt like, and all the time that you're doing like that, it's taken away from the substance, right? Like, we all kind of deal with it. And that was the Patriots with Drake Maye.
No, that is not the formula, not even close. And Wolf was able to see
Yeah.
it quickly.
And your credit, like my point
Oh,
with Sean McDermott, you
that he
knew
had,
this was a coach
yes,
with a
yes.
vision. He had a vision. He had it laid out. He was prepared his entire life for
Yeah, and we
this.
can talk about that another time too. But the other coaches that we interviewed, they didn't have that same basically ready for the job type. Everything. Sean was ready for the job. He was prepared and ready for the job.
One final point too on the Patriots. Uh, so Brian Flores beats Tua down, and I think when I did that story, I noted how like Josh McDaniels had a similar coaching style with the Raiders. Like, you just berate guys in these meetings, and it's with the Generation Z athlete, man, you got to be careful. Like, you've got to find that middle ground. Yet, I think that we have to acknowledge like the upside of hard coaching too. Like, maybe you don't go full Brian Flores and how he coached Tua that year, because it could be very counterproductive. Um, but when you've got a coach like Drake Maye who is open to hard coaching, who accepts hard coaching. I was talking to Joshua Dobbs all about it. Like, he's like, that's what you want. Because Josh McDaniels, guess what? He's back in New England. He spent all those years with Tom Brady. He knows what it looks like. He knows what the greatest of all time looks like, to win divisions year in, year out, to get to the Super Bowl year in, year out. Like, he's lived it with Tom Brady. And I get it. I can see it in your face. Like, Tom Brady helped a lot of people. He got a lot of people promoted, made a lot of people a lot of money. But there is something there that works. The bones of the offense are the same for New England. Like, they're watching clips of Brady because he didn't play that long ago, right? Like, they saw how this offense looks against defensive coordinators that they're facing week in and week out for the most part. And when Drake Maye has the intellectual capacity to handle so much pre-snap, that's what the coach said. Like, his smarts are off the charts pre-snap. He knows He can handle those protections, but also post snap with his spatial awareness and his peripheral vision to know where everybody is and how the 11 moving parts are operating defensively. When you can then coach him hard and push him, that's how you just continue to elevate and elevate and elevate to the point where we're talking about Drake Maye. At least I am, in that same category as anybody in the league.
It's such a fine line because the word we're using tough for Vrabel and Belichick was tough. Andy Reid's tough. Sean Payton tough. Guys I've worked with, they're tough because they're able to be tough because the players are buying into them because they know those coaches are capable of maxing out their talents, which maxes out their money. So when the players
Yes.
buy in and know that the head coach has a resume and he is the guy, all I have to do is show up and be the best athlete and listen, and I will succeed. That's the head coach. They have to buy in. You have to have a resume. It can't be just talk. There has to be production.
Right. Knowing what it could lead to. And that was Dobbs's point. Like, he cut me off when I was asking the question how hard McDaniels is, because he knows he's coached, he's played for everybody. He's like half the league. Quote, isn't that what you want? We all want to be the best. So I've seen it both ways. I've shown up to work and I had no clue what I was being asked to do. And I've been in a place where you've had to come in as a quarterback and it's like, here's the game plan. Here's the script. You're figuring out your reads and your footwork and it's trial by error. There's no framework of what you're trying to get done as an offense. I've been there. I've done that. That's not enjoyable. And he was referencing Pittsburgh as Ben Roethlisberger's backup. And Ben Roethlisberger just kind of ran the show. And he said nobody really showed him how to play quarterback in the NFL. He's just kind of figuring it out on his own. And he likes it. That structure can be a good thing. Quote, you want a coach that has a plan, that has reasoning, and knows how he's trying to attack the defense. That's Josh McDaniels, and he's got a quarterback in Drake Maye.
For the latest and greatest in football journalism, subscribe at golongtd.com.